This is WTVM News Leader 9.
An American top general killed in a firefight at an Army base. Tonight on the News at 5, we'll tell you what we know about what happened.
Plus, a retrial in a capital murder case ends in a guilty verdict in East Alabama. Straight ahead, we'll tell you what's next in this case that started more than 15 years ago.
And a Columbus trio set to go on trial in a murder case. Coming up, we'll tell you what happened today as their trial gets set to begin. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight for News Leader 9 at 5. I'm Barbara Goche.
And I'm Jason Dennis. Our top story tonight, a U.S. two-star general is dead in Afghanistan, the highest-ranking officer killed during the 13-year battle there. We're investigating if he has ties to Fort Benning. 8 other American soldiers were also injured there today. ABC's Kieran Travers has the details on this tragedy, one that's described as an inside job.
It was apparently an inside job.
It's a terrible day, a terrible tragedy.
A gunman wearing an Afghan army uniform turned his weapon against American, Afghan, and NATO soldiers. A U.S. official told ABC News that a 2-star major general was killed, making him the highest-ranking fatality in either the Afghanistan or Iraq wars. 15 were wounded, including 8 Americans. All are expected to survive. The attack happened at this military training facility about 11 miles outside Kabul. Starting last fall, this sprawling compound has been used to train Afghan forces. The group of coalition members were on site for a visit when the attack occurred. This is the latest in a string of so-called green-on-blue attacks in Afghanistan, where members of the Afghan forces have attacked U.S. and coalition forces.
Afghanistan is still a war zone, so it's impossible to completely eliminate that threat, I think, particularly in a place like Afghanistan.
The last major incident in Afghanistan was in 2010, just before the American troops surged there. A suicide bomb ripped through a NATO convoy in Kabul, killing 12 people, including 5 American soldiers. But those attacks have become less frequent each year, as fewer U.S. troops have been on the ground there.
A senior U.S. official said there's no indication the American general was targeted. The shooting appears to be random, and the attacker fired into a large crowd. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
And we'll have a reaction from a retired Army general in our area ahead on News Leader 9 at 6.
In other news tonight, the jury finds a man who murdered a disabled Phoenix City man back in 1998 guilty of capital murder. We first brought you the update to this case just moments after the verdict came down this afternoon. News Leader 9 Sarah Lim was at court this morning. She joins us now with all the details. Sarah?
Good evening, Barbara. The jury found James Harrison guilty of capital murder and first-degree robbery this morning. But this case isn't over just yet. Now that Harrison has been found guilty of capital murder, the state and the defense will move on to the second phase of this trial. After more than 3 hours of deliberation this morning, the jury found Harrison guilty of capital murder and robbery first degree. The defense asked the jury to be polled, and all 12 members of the jury unanimously voted and agreed to the charges. The state was fighting to convince the jury that James Harrison, the man convicted of brutally murdering Fred Day Jr. in 1998, is guilty of capital murder and robbery first degree Monday afternoon. The defense was also working to convince the jury that Harrison be charged with murder and theft of property instead. In order to prove that Harrison was guilty of capital murder, the state needed to prove and convince the jury that Harrison's intent to rob and intent to murder existed simultaneously, and to show that the robbery happened during that time of murder. Harrison has been found guilty of capital murder. The state and the defense will move on to the second phase of the trial, also known as the sentencing phase, to find an appropriate punishment for Harrison. That will take place tomorrow morning at the Russell County Courthouse. And of course, you can count on News Leader 9 to be there to bring you the latest on this case. In the studio, I'm Sarah Lim for WTVM News Leader 9.
All right, Sarah, thank you. Meantime, the man accused of shooting a man to death at the Big Cat gas station stood in front of a judge this morning. Chandler Saxton pleaded not guilty in Recorder's Court in the shooting death of John Jones. Today, a Columbus detective testified store surveillance video and witness testimony helped identify Saxton as the gunman. Saxton was originally charged with aggravated assault, but that charge was dropped. He was denied bond for the murder charge and given a $5,000 bond for possession of a weapon. His case is now bound over to Superior Court.
And we're watching some showers and thunderstorms out there on the Doppler 9 radar network. Very widely scattered, though, as expected today. Most spots have stayed dry, but still watching some stormy weather just to the west of Casitas. Some showers near Lumpkin as well down in Stewart County, and some other scattered showers in parts of Schley and Sumter counties. The rain and stormy weather today moving on down to the south and east, but most spots dry and most spots hot as well. As we check those temperatures, we find a lot of places up in the 90s, but where the rain has been nearby today, it's been a little cooler. 82 in Auburn, 85 in Montgomery, 88 in Columbus, but 92 in Albany, 93 in Birmingham, and 93 over in Macon. Some spots that have stayed relatively rain-free today. Here's your forecast over the next few hours. No big weather concerns for us. We will still be dodging a few showers and spots for the next hour or two, but then drier weather tonight and some bigger changes by the weekend. We'll tell you all about those coming up in your 7-day forecasts later in the show.
All right, looking forward to that. Thank you, Derek. A mistrial has been requested and a defense attorney wants off the case, all happening on day 2 of the murder trial of an accused Columbus crime ring. Let's go live now to our Brittany Dion at the Government Center for details on why this cold case trial is growing colder. So, Brittany, what can you tell us?
Well, Jason, I have some good news for you. The jury has been selected. The bad news, they may not hear the details of this case anytime soon. Jamal Castille's attorney, Sue Ellen Fleming, has asked for a mistrial and to be removed from this case after a special motion was denied by the courts earlier. But in a turn of events, that motion was given to her so she could argue it in front of the courtroom. Now, Flemings was allowed to challenge the indictment. She says that it is not specific enough. Take a listen to her argument.
What act? With whom? Who is supposed to have died? How is that murder supposed to have been committed? Those are questions that might have been answered by the district attorney, but they chose not to do it. Mr. Castile cannot defend himself against an indictment that leaves open too much to speculation.
Now, the state argued that Fleming did not submit that motion in time, that they said that it was late and against the law for her to be able to argue it in court today. Now, Fleming has been on this case for about 2 months. She says that the previous attorney that was representing Jamal Castile was incompetent, and now she is having to pick up the pieces and having to submit all of these documents that should have been submitted before she took over this case. Now, after she argued that motion, the judge did deny it once again, but she is at this time staying on this case. Now, everyone's still upstairs arguing different motions. I'll tell you some of the motions they argued later today on the news at 5:30. For now, I'm live at the Government Center. Brittany Dion, WTVM News Leader 9.
All right, thank you, Brittany. In a month from now, local adventurers will get a chance to zip high in the air above the rapids. A new zip line is now in the works along the Chattahoochee River, and today Phoenix City Council giving the go-ahead to extend the line to the Alabama side of the river. News Leader 9's Rosalind Giles saw the project firsthand today and joined us now with more on the progress. Rosalind?
Good evening to you, Jason. Well, there is no line in the air above the rapids just yet, but earlier today at 11th Avenue and Bay Street, we saw crews there hard at work from the tower that you see here. Phoenix City Mayor Eddie Lowe says today's vote by council allows for the zip line poles to be placed on the opposite side of the river in Alabama. Mayor Lowe says it's a unique situation that probably doesn't exist anywhere else in the world.
We need to capitalize off that, but the great thing is it shows that we're working together to make our cities a better place, that we can add amenities not only for people in our cities but also outsiders, because again, at the end of the day, it'll help raise Phoenix City and Columbus.
Phoenix City and Columbus will both receive a percentage of the proceeds from each trip down the zip line. How much is unclear right now, but what we do know is the project will cost $400,000 to build that attraction. Uptown Whitewater Management LLC and Whitewater Express are footing the bill. Now, if you are excited and just can't wait to try that zip line, we're told you can get your chance as early as next month. Back to you.
All right, sounds pretty exciting, Rosalind. Thank you. Well, I'll admit it, we are all on our best driving behavior when a state trooper rolls up next to us in a patrol car. We drive the speed limit with both hands on the wheel. Well, we put away our cell phones. We do all the right things. But what happens when we don't suspect a state trooper is watching? Well, we may drive a little bit differently. Elizabeth White joins us now with a little more information. Okay, I'm guilty. I admit it, Liz.
We are all guilty. We're human. When a state trooper is next to us, we're on our best behavior, like you said. But when they're not, we kind of do what we need to do to get to where we're going safely, of course, most of the time. But state troopers really wanted to figure out a way to kind of look into what drivers are doing. They wanted to hide in plain spot. So they decided to give them tickets. Now, the solution they are going to use is 18-wheelers. Thousands upon thousands of tractor trailers travel Alabama roadways every day. Now, under the TACT, or the Ticketing Aggressive Cars and Trucks program, a state trooper could be riding in the passenger seat of an 18-wheeler with a bird's eye view, looking for bad drivers so they can radio nearby troopers to make a traffic stop.
They're texting and driving and weaving and cutting people off. Improper lane usage, not signaling and cutting people off. Those are the things that cause crashes.
Now, East Alabama drivers have mixed reaction, at least the drivers we spoke with today. Some believe that troopers using tractor trailers is a great idea. Others told me they believe it's entrapment. Now, troopers say it's legal to do this, of course, and this is the first time the TACT program has been used in the state of Alabama. Troopers will be conducting the 18-wheeler assisted traffic blitz all of this week. And again, the bottom line, the goal here is to find and ticket unsafe drivers before their careless actions and behavior can lead to an accident with injuries or fatality. So we'll see how the program goes. Reporting in East Alabama, Elizabeth White, WTVM News Leader 9.
Yeah, we should always drive like someone's watching us, right, Liz? All right, thank you.
More back to school giveaways to tell you about as students get in gear for the first day of classes. Davis Broadcasting will be holding its Tools for School supply giveaway tomorrow. It all starts at 5 o'clock in the Carver High School gym. Supplies will be available for all students from elementary school up to high school kids. There will be music and snacks as well. So if you haven't gotten all you need for back to school, make sure you go to this event again tomorrow.
And while we're on the topic of back to school, students in Lee County and East Alabama enjoyed their first day of the new school year today. Students in Opelika, like those in Muskogee and Harris County, start Thursday, and Auburn kids return to the classroom on Monday. And today marks the start of National Night Out, the initiative hoping to send the message that crime will not be tolerated. Here is a live look now from the Columbus Civic Center. As you see there, police and residents starting to gather. They're expected to roll out around 6 tonight.
And from there, they will head out into the neighborhoods across Columbus, urging communities to join in on the fight to take the streets back from crime. We'll have more on the sweep of officers on the streets of the Fountain City tonight on the news at 11.
And straight ahead here on News Leader 9 at 5, a second American infected with the Ebola virus arrives in the U.S. for treatment. We've got the latest on experimental drugs being used to fight the illness.
The umbrella out there today for your chance to win one of these. All you have to do is head over to the weather tab at WTVM.com. You'll find a place to register to win a WTVM and Rivertown Ford umbrella. And we'll tell you if you'll need it for the rest of the week coming up here right after the break.